It's time for mini news sesh. Yeah.
Hey there, kids, and welcome to Design by Wingnut Social. I'm your host, the Grand High Poobah of all things here at Wingnut Social, Darla Jethro Powell, and we are joined by Abigail Weidman Coots for the mini news sesh. Hey, Abby, nice to see you.
Hey there, how you doing?
Hey, I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm ready to discuss some social media myths today and be the Wingnut Mythbusters.
The Mythbusters, I love it. And I was looking over your notes, and these are some terrific myths, and a lot of people think that these are true. So we're going to bust some bubbles today. You ready? Let's start with the first one.
Alrighty, yeah. So the first myth that we're going to talk about today is kind of controversial, in my opinion, to the people that sometimes come to us. And that is that you need to be on every social media platform. That is a myth. I feel like I need a drum roll. So it's a myth that you need to be on every social media platform. We sometimes have people come to us who say, hey, I want to go viral on TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook all at the same time. And while we appreciate your faith in our ability to do that and your drive, we really recommend focusing on one platform to get started and really niching down and building that engaged community.
You know, I love that. And I think that that is really a smart thing, right? You want to make sure that you've mastered one and not like triple or 3 or 4 or 5x your marketing budget, right? For that as well, to really just focus on the one and get the ROI from that before you start branching out. Because you can do a lot of A/B testing. You can see what works in market research, and it's more effective if you're more focused, especially while you're building your brand, right? I do love that.
Yeah, kind of an overarching things in all of these myths that we'll say is that it's about quality over quantity. You'd rather, again, like I said, have that engaged community of people who are really interested in what you're talking about and interested in your products. And, you have a solid strategy for that one platform before you start branching out. So quality over quantity kind of leads me into my next myth, which is that more followers equal more business. That is a myth. And again, I feel like some of these are kind of controversial and they're things that people might not want to hear, but just because you have 20,000 followers doesn't mean you're going to be getting 20,000 leads a week. You'd rather have 500 to 5,000, devoted followers who are interested and who match your ideal client target market on your page rather than a handful of people who, aren't even really interested in what you're saying.
That's really true. And I can tell you that the numbers thing for followers, and let's take Instagram, of course, is a real vanity metric. And I see a lot of interior designers buying followers, thinking that that's going to help them in some way, when it's really just an exercise in, vanity, at the risk of being redundant, because that is not what's going to get you the business. Again, you're right. Quality over quantity. You want that one human-based life form who loves you, loves what you do, and is going to pull the trigger and go to your website or hire you, versus 100 that don't really care.
Exactly.
So that's true, and that's hard to get over for a lot of people.
It is. Yeah. And on that note of buying followers too, I wanted to touch on that because we have seen that happen. And that is a social media manager's one of our very worst nightmares, because Instagram actually considers that as fraudulent. And they do this lovely thing called shadow banning. And, there's been some discussion of if shadow banning is real or not, but I've seen it firsthand. And basically what shadow banning means is less people are seeing your content, and your content is undiscoverable under hashtags and things like that. So, Instagram, you can't cheat the algorithm with buying those fake followers. So don't do it. And just know that more followers does not equal more business all the time.
Not at all. Not even a little bit. Okay. I mean, it's helpful to grow real followers. Yeah. Right. I mean, they're still like, if you're selling product or things like that, to get more eyes on your account is certainly helpful, but it's not an automatic given, especially if they're not quality. So good point.
Absolutely. Yeah. It makes sense why people would think that. So I get it, but just know your friendly social media manager is advising you against any of that. All right, moving on. Our next myth is that you need to be posting 7 days a week, multiple times a day. That is not true at all. Again, I think I said this earlier, but social media, it isn't a one size fits all tool. So if you do feel like you need to be posting 7 days a week, I hope there's a strategy behind that and research conducted behind that. But my 2 cents, first of all, is that while your work is beautiful and while I'm sure your content is great, nobody needs or wants to be spammed. And that's also going to likely decrease your engagement on your posts. Because again, while nobody wants to be spammed, they also don't want to be liking and commenting all day long. We recommend for our clients anywhere from 4 to 6 posts per week. And we found that's kind of the sweet spot for our clients.
You know, I actually had someone unfollow me a couple of years ago because I posted too much. So at the time, did I? Yeah, it was when I was first starting my interior design business. And I think they just had a little bit of design fatigue. And believe it or not, this person was actually an in-law. So there might be other things at work there as well. But there is such a thing as like too much of a good thing. You want to leave people wanting a little bit, right?
Yeah. So we're going to touch base again on quality over quantity. It applies to all of these myths. So if you're posting one solid post, every, like we said, 4 to 6 posts a week, that's going to get higher engagement than if you're spamming everybody multiple times a day. So quality over quantity, it all comes back to that.
All right. Now this next myth is social media is only for young people. Now here I am, I'm 55 and I have a social media agency, and I don't think I'm not ancient. Maybe some people might think you might think I am since you're a millennial, but I'm not, I'm not young, right? So my age group is definitely on social media. So, right. So let's bust this once and for freaking all.
Yes, let's bust this myth. So, it really comes down to putting yourself in your ideal client's shoes and thinking about what platform they're on. I think the reason this myth exists is because, maybe your ideal client is 65 plus years old and they're likely not going to be on TikTok. They're probably going to be on Facebook or something like that. If your ideal client is a millennial, they're probably going to, for sure, be on Instagram. So it really comes down to putting yourself in their shoes and thinking how they would think. But I have some lovely statistics here from a nice Pew Research study that I'm going to read to you guys to really dispel this myth and, like Darla said, bust it once and for all. So 18 to 29-year-olds, 84% of them are on social media. And those are your people who are probably going to be on Instagram and TikTok more than likely. Then you have your 30 to 49-year-olds. Those are probably going to be your Instagrammers and Facebookers. 80% of them are on social media. Then you have 50 to 64-year-olds. 64% of them are on social media, and, they're probably on Instagram and Facebook and maybe LinkedIn, depending on their interests. And then you have your 65 plus year olds, and 40% of them are on social media. And like I said earlier, they're probably going to be on Facebook or something like that. So they are on social media. It's not just for the Gen Zers.
And I got to tell you, too, from personal experience, and this could just be the TikTok for you algorithm, right? There's a lot of that's growing. The age group is growing on TikTok as well. There's a lot of creators. They're my age or older. There's one that I like to follow. She's a Gen X person, and she's always dispelling Gen X myths or talking about Gen X. And I love it. And, of course, that's what I am, is Gen X. All right. Last but not least, and this one frosts me sometimes. The social media results are instant. Come on now. Nothing is instant.
That is a myth. Yeah. And like I said earlier, we appreciate your confidence in our abilities. And while we do appreciate that, it's just not true. Social media is a long game, and it takes consistency and it takes a consistent strategy. You want your followers to have time to build trust with you and to build trust with your brand in order to really decide if they want to purchase from you. And social media results are not instant.
Nothing really is. Search engine optimization isn't instant. Social media, building your brand and building that know, like, and trust takes time and takes that relationship building. And that is something that we've seen firsthand that social media does par none, really. It's really the best way to do it. The lowest hanging fruit and the most effective. There are ways to make it quicker than the long game with paid social media and stuff. But still, people want that foundation of an established an account, and there's just really no getting around that investment or getting around that time, unless you have a time machine, which, then maybe. Abigail Weidman Coots Thank you so much for these myth-busting facts. We really appreciate it. And I have to say, if you're watching Designed by Wingnut Social, which is our YouTube channel, you guys can tune in and see how much Abigail Weidman-Coots looks like Sansa Stark from Game of Thrones.
You always tell me that.
You must get that all the time.
Only from you, honestly.
You're almost a dead ringer for Sansa Stark, and that's not a bad thing, really. I love that show, and I love Game of Thrones. So you are the true Queen of the North.
Thank you, I think. I'm from the South, but I'll take it.
All right, Abby, thank you so much.
Thank you. Talk soon.
Thank you again for joining us, Abigail. And if you need help with social media marketing for your interior design firm, if you're a vendor, if you're a home furnishings manufacturer, hey, we know a place, and that's Wingnut Social. Wingnutsocial.com, that's what we do. We do it all day long, all week long, all year long, and we are the best at it, if I do say so myself. Wingnutsocial.com. And if you want to see how our assistant director is actually Sansa Stark from Game of Thrones, be sure to check us out on our YouTube channel, Designed by Wingnut Social. And that is it for today's Mini News Sesh. Yeah! I'm ridiculous, I know. All right, we'll see you next time. Remember, until then, to get out there, get uncomfortable, and be great.
Mini News Sesh. Yeah!